Welcome back to Open House with Mark Siwiec and Corey James Moran, brought to you by Elysian Homes by Mark Siwiec and Associates. This is a Greater Rochester Real Estate Podcast and episode 156.
Or episode one?
One, I guess, technically.
Yeah, it's a whole new beginning here.
I mean, listen, if you're one of our just diehard listeners, you've been listening via just audio for, years now, literally. This is not going to be anything new. But if you're watching online for the first time, we are doing our first video podcast.
All right, so wait, we didn't talk about this, but I really feel the need to just shout out to Cam.
Of course. Oh, yeah. The
Cam
inspiration.
So Cam Van Kerkhoff, who does all of our reels and all the photos for all of the listings that we put online, does a weekly interview. It's a podcast.
Yeah.
And I think I was one of his first guests. It was great. He did such a great job. This guy is so innovative, and he's so intelligent, and he's so forward-thinking, and he's so successful at such a young age. But one of the things that he did was he had me come and sit down, and I was like, Jesus, this is like
the production. Yeah,
it is a production. So Cam, I'm looking at you now. I'm looking right into the camera. Cam, I'm looking at you, dude. Like I took inspiration. So I'm shamelessly like ripping off what it is that I enjoyed when I was in your place a couple months back. Actually, God,
and also, Mark, come on, you want to feed the trolls. That's part of it too. Oh. Obviously, a lot of comments. A lot of comments came from that episode. I think that was maybe the most watched video he put out because you were talking about Rochester real estate, and I don't know how many views. 300,000, a million.
No, last I saw it was like 450,000 views. It was insane.
Yeah.
But then of course, I'd say the bulk of the majority of everybody was very, very kind. But like then I'm so stupid.
Come on, rule one of the internet. Don't feed the trolls. What are you doing?
The first night, I'm just like, no, that's actually not what I meant. So sorry to say. And I'm like trying to be very, very nice. I'm like trying to tell people.
They'll understand. Listen, these people are reasonable. Sitting on their keyboards in their mom's basements.
It was as if I had gone out to a Sunoco or something. Just gotten vats of gasoline and just thrown it on the fire.
Don't feed
them. Log. It was just I was like, okay, lesson learned. I'm they're not interested in conversation. Anyway, so Cam, thank you very much, bud. Really appreciate all that you do in terms of your innovation, in terms of the work that you do for us. Just awesome stuff. And I'll turn it back over to you, bud.
Okay. Well, a lot to get to on the podcast this week.
Really? Last night there wasn't.
Well, there a little bit. There's some stuff happening.
There's some stuff. Yeah.
So we'll talk about the latest economic report that came out. This is pretty big. How that impacts the look for the rest of the year. Yeah. We're going to talk about D-Day is Saturday, right?
Yeah, right.
This is the 17th. All the new changes go into effect.
And it's like Y2K all over again, but for real estate agents.
It seems like complete chaos.
I mean, hair on fire, yeah.
Well, we'll get into that a little bit. And then also kind of related to that, I don't know if you even saw this, but the NAR, the National Association of Realtors, is being sued by brokers and agents based on this. So we'll talk about that as well. And then, of course, Mark's favorite part of the podcast. If you listen, you know this. If you're watching,
it depends.
If you're watching for the first time, you will quickly find out our celebrity real estate, where Mark just completely craps on whatever I find.
85%, only 85% of the time.
Okay, fair. That's fair. All right, want to jump into the market update?
Let's do it, bud. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So the latest numbers, we have seen a bit of a resurgence here. Maybe that's too strong of a word. A bit of a jump up. Not much though.
We've added a few. Why don't we?
There's a couple.
We've added a few properties to the
inventory. Monroe County single family homes, 451 last week. We're up to 470. So we're going upwards. Okay. That's, I guess, positive. Kind of 6 county region, 881 last week, up to 889. 8 new properties. Woo!
Like I said.
Yeah. You've got to bring a little mini flag on the podcast to just wave in celebration.
Well, all right, now that we're video, we can give
so many things.
Yeah,
Listen, this is going to be a work in progress. We're going to let it grow a little bit. Under contract and pending properties, that number just slightly growing in Monroe County. 1195 last week. We're at 1197 right now. Okay. And for the 6 county region, we are at 1812, just down from 1814 last week.
Very good. Very good. All right.
Anything about those numbers that strikes?
What interests me about those numbers is last August. So we're ahead. End of July. Our team, and I always have to bring this back to us because
it's our podcast.
Well, it is our podcast. That's right. And unlike you and the other agents on the team, I don't spend a lot of time boots on the ground in the field talking to other agents. So I always have to bring it back to what's going on with our team. And one of the things that's really surprising. We're ahead of where we were through the end of July of last year.
Which is pretty shocking based on where we were earlier in the year.
Yeah, and based on market conditions. Mm-hmm. But unfortunately, The month of August, we sold $10 million last August. We're at 3 so far, month to date. So these numbers are a little, the fact that there was any growth whatsoever is a little interesting to me. I'm wondering how much of that is based on the addition of new listings and new inventory, and how much is just based on the fact that inventory is just sitting.
Yeah.
If I were to speculate, it's the properties are just sitting, because I think everybody's just enjoying the last poolside cocktail.
Without a doubt, yeah, for sure.
You
Buyers
agree? Yeah.
Buyers are distracted. It's definitely slower, and I continue to see agents posting, this property survives delayed negotiations. It's still sitting. And it's funny, I often see this phrase also in those posts. We priced it where we thought it was going to sell.
Yeah, well, guess what?
Yeah, not great.
Well, it's actually so slow. So every year, I mean, we like to get away, when we can. It doesn't happen as often as we would like, but we always try and do at least 2, sometimes 3 big vacations. But January, we always go away in January because we know it's going to be slow.
Yeah.
The other, if we get away once or twice in addition to that, it's usually based on what's going on in the market in real time. And so over the weekend, I realized, okay, it's slow. Now is the time to capitalize, because I'm really anticipating a really, really big, September is going to be huge.
Yeah.
September is going to be enormous.
Which we'll get into.
And October is going to be good, yeah. So we decided we're going to we're leaving a week from tomorrow. We're going to go to Belgium for a week.
Oh, nice. Awesome.
That's how slow things
Okay,
are.
yeah.
That we just decided, okay, let's
Is this your secret way to drum up business, by the way? Because any real estate agent that's watching this knows, if you think things are slow and you want things to pick up, just schedule a vacation.
So true.
Your phone will ring off the hook.
Well, it always does. And it doesn't matter where I am in the world. You've had the experience. Everybody's had the experience. It doesn't matter where I am in the world. We do the same thing. You're down in the Turks. I pick up the phone and be like, hey, you pick up. So it's just what we got to do. So.
All right. Before we get into mortgage interest rates and where they are,
Here we go.
We do have a sponsor. Are you charging them extra for this now that it's a video podcast?
You know what? I should.
Are you charging them at all for this?
I should. Or I should take off my shirt and run a business for them.
Listen, I'm gonna pull back the curtain. We are in a former gym.
Oh, actually, we are.
There's weights around here.
Yeah. There are.
But it doesn't compare to Elevate, does it, Mark?
No, it doesn't. Great
That's called
segue
a segue.
there.
Yeah.
Wow, nice. Nicely done.
Professional.
So, again, my buddy Nick Mancuso, who's a new dad for the second time, coming back next week, and I can't wait to see him. Such a great guy. Unlock your potential at Elevate, where we blend luxury and functionality in a thriving fitness community. Our expert team offers personalized training, dynamic group classes, and exclusive amenities like cold plunges and infrared saunas, all designed for your growth. All that's really great, but the reality is it's just a kick-ass gym with incredible machinery, remarkable trainers if you need trainers, and most importantly, just a really, really welcoming and really great environment, culture. People there are very, very kind. There is a sense of community that exists in that place.
Which is so important, especially for working out, because it's so easy to fall off.
Oh,
It happens to me 5 or 6 times a year.
Well, the key is getting a trainer, because you're paying and somebody's expecting. Yeah, so anyway.
All right, let's jump into mortgage interest rates. So I just looked, we have the new update here.
Okay,
so we're down just a little bit. Last week we were at 6.52. We're at 6.49% right now for the 30-year. For the 15-year, we are at 5.95. That is actually up just a hair from last week. And then for the adjustable rate, we are at 6.25, which is up a little bit as well. But the 30-year, of course, is the big one. That one's just slightly down, and that's coming off the news of the CPI, the Consumer Price Index, that came out, that something happened for the first time since March of 2021.
Isn't that great?
Inflation is now below 3%.
A 3 handle on inflation. That's really remarkable. And as I said, you probably didn't see, but I posted to team Facebook page and I posted to LinkedIn. It's almost like this Goldilocks moment, because there was a lot of fear going into this morning's report that either A, inflation was going to tick up a little bit and create panic and havoc, like, oh my God, we haven't actually vanquished inflation, or that we were going to find that just the opposite, that we were heading into that it had dropped too much, that we're heading into recession. this just seems to be it beat expectations by just a tenth.
Yeah, because 3% was the expectation. It came in at 2.9.
Yeah, so this is great. It's just a tad below what they were expecting, which means that yes, we are continuing down the road of disinflation, which is fantastic, but not too much down the road toward disinflation, or meaning that we're heading into recession.
Sure.
So I'm surprised that the 30-year Treasury, the 30-year mortgage hasn't dropped even more.
It is a little interesting, and it may by the end of the day, but that was just the latest update.
I mean, when was that? That's from
just now. I just saw the update. It's record here on Wednesday.
All right, and I'm just pulling up. Sorry, but I just want to.
You want to check my work? You don't trust me?
No, I'm actually looking at. Yeah, I mean, the bond market, I really thought would have rallied on this news, but the bond market is just down 3 bips.
Well,
nothing. Some
of the market reaction too. So the S&P 500 gained 0.2%.
Okay,
the Dow rose slightly by 18 points. The Nasdaq Composite increased by 0.4%. Following the report. It's drilling down into a little bit, kind of interesting. Housing costs for the CPI. The cost of owning and renting a home rose 0.4%, contributing, ready to this to nearly 90% of the monthly CPI increase. 90%. Yeah.
It's a chicken and egg thing. I mean, how do you more meaningfully, and I think we finally are there, but over the course of the past couple of years, how do you meaningfully push down the costs associated with real estate in order to control inflation when you've got interest rates that are so high, and all this meaning that people aren't putting their homes on the market for sale because of locked-in rate, and it's just causing this spiraling effect upward of the cost to purchase a home. And so you got one chasing the other, but it seems as though we're finally there.
Right, and it really is going to take just a very calculated lowering of those mortgage interest rates to put that a little bit back in balance. Because 90% is wild. That's a crazy number.
So are we going to talk about the Chicago Mercantile?
Yeah, so what does this mean? I mean, let's get to the point here of what is really important.
Stop rambling, would you?
What does all of this mean towards rates going lower, and specifically a September rate cut, which seems all but baked in right now based on all the results. I think at this point it really comes down to more of a debate of, is it going to be 25 basis points or 50 basis points?
Yes. And so earlier today I was looking at Chicago Mercantile. They've got a 25 BIP, a quarter point reduction at a 100% certainty.
Okay.
That it's going to happen, or 98%, something like that.
Sure. Nothing's certain.
Yeah, exactly. I think it was at 90. A 50 bips or a half point drop in the federal fund rate, that was coming in at a 48% certainty. So that's fairly significant if you think about it. Regardless, it's going to be the first of, more likely than not, multiple rate reductions that take place over the course of the next year and a half.
Which is interesting, and why I found this stat a little bit maybe alarming. The refi index is up 35%. Listen, if you're a homeowner right now, and maybe you purchased in the last couple of years when rates have been a little bit higher, and you're scrambling to refinance, I mean, my advice, and maybe you think differently, Mark, but my advice would be hold your horses. Wait, because it's going to keep going down.
Well, actually, this might be an interesting. So, for years we were working with Genesee Regional Bank, and probably about a year ago, they were. You might remember this. They were offering as rates. It was about a year ago. As the 30-year mortgage just skyrocketed, GRB came out with a really, really interesting program, which was, okay, go ahead, purchase your home now, but you will have until, is it December of this year?
Well, they kept moving it, so I'm not sure what, actually, to be honest, I don't know what the date is right now. Originally, it was another year, and then it got pushed back.
Yeah, so it's either December of this year or a year from December to go ahead and refinance at no cost at whatever the 30-year mortgage rate is at that point in time. I had completely forgotten about this.
Oh, really?
Until I started having a conversation last week with Mike Pulliver and Joe Leone from GRB. I was like, oh my God, I was thinking that I was going to start to refi on my personal residence.
Did you have a recent purchase?
And then I realized, you know what? Actually, I don't need to spend the money, so I will be probably at the end of this year. Like you said, I'm going to wait just a little bit until the 30-year rate. So where do you think the rate's going to go?
I still think if you're sitting on that higher rate now and you want to refinance, 5.5 is my number.
5.5 when?
I expect that to happen. I'm hoping later next year. I think we could get there. It's not going to happen this year, for sure.
So where are we? December 31, 2024.
I think we're around. If all goes well, I'm hoping we're at 5.5. I'm hoping that we're...
Wait. In 4 months?
Oh, no. Oh, for this, I thought you meant next December.
2024, yeah.
If we're closer to 6, that would be phenomenal. And I think that's realistic.
Okay. My number, for what it's worth, 6.1, 6.15,
right.
6.2, somewhere in there.
Yep.
So not hitting 6, certainly not hitting a 5 handle, but somewhere above 6, but below 6 1/4. So let's hope.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Again, it could be completely different, and who knows? We've seen what's transpired the last 4 years where the rug gets pulled out from under us, and it could go the other way. But everything for the first time in a very long time seems aligned in the same direction right now.
But what's nice is the metrics are actually there at this point in time.
Sure.
A lot of it is just wishful thinking, speculation, prayers on the part of economists and others.
Because they don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's just putting your finger in the air and hoping. Sure. But now the reality is that we've got solid metrics showing that, again, CPI inflation 9.1% a little over 2 years ago, now down to 2.9%. That's remarkable.
It is. A little tip for
just
fist
shout
bump.
out Jay Powell.
Should we get a confetti cannon?
We really should. Alex?
Add confetti cannon. Find it on Amazon.
Yeah, if you would. That'd be great. Thanks, bud.
Interesting note for, I guess, buyers and sellers. Another stat that I saw related to mortgage interest rates. So the mortgage application volume is now up 16.8%.
Wow. Okay.
And that is speaking to, I think, what you alluded to that could happen in September. And that's where we're going to see the market take off again.
And I just can't. We just added 2 new properties that are going live in September. I mean, poor Julie. Julie, her listening.
She'll get to rest in January.
If we told her that last year.
Yeah, it's true. That was a lie.
Yeah, and we were like, oh, don't worry. Yes, you're working 60 hours a week right now, but come October 31st, you'll be able to take all of November, December, and even half of January off. And that woman did not stop. I mean, yeah, she was wrapping gifts and and getting people to sign listing documents on December 24th. So.
So the other big thing, of course, happening is Saturday. Saturday is the day.
Is this where I my eyes get big and I start to quiver?
I don't know. It seems like a lot of people are confused, specifically agents. I did see a post in an agent Facebook group where pretty much everyone's just planning on going on vacation. You're doing the same thing.
For different reasons.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Get out of here. So the big changes in terms of commission no longer will be displayed on the MLS, which is going to make it a little more legwork to find out, is that seller offering a commission to the buyer's agent? Are they not? Obviously, that's going to impact the buyer and, of course, the buyer's agent. And then these buyer agreements going into place as well, where, again, starting on Saturday, it's becoming official now. If you reach out to your agent who you've been working with for the past 3 years and they've shown you 97 properties and you haven't found one yet, but one comes up and this is the one and you want to see it, when you reach out to them, expect them to say, we need to sign this.
Conversely, you want to walk through a property and you've never met an agent, you just want to walk through a property, you have to sign this document.
Exactly.
You don't have to sign a document if you're a buyer and you're walking through an open house. You don't have to sign the document.
Correct.
You're more or less walking through as a free agent. But anytime an agent is walking through a property. So yeah, a lot of paperwork. I mean, it'll be interesting. This is one of those moments akin to what was playing out technologically during COVID, where all of a sudden, we would suddenly have to accustom ourselves to a lot of new technology.
Yep.
And so I'm wondering whether or not, if everybody is actually using pen and paper, we're just going to have stacks, piles, mile high of signed documents. So I'm wondering if there's going to be a system that will be created where people are just carrying around tablets or iPads and people will be signing electronically. That would be very, very helpful.
Could, yeah. I don't know, quite honestly, because there's not a ton of direction just from the National Association of Realtors.
Yes, I realize, but they did say they're going to sign. So I think that then it falls to progressive and more successful agents to actually say, okay, yes, that's the mandate, but here's how we can make it more efficient.
Sure.
Likewise, there's the whole issue of, okay, so as an agent representing a buyer, I want to walk through a property on East Main Street. What is the commission that a seller is going to be paying me as the buyer's agent? Right now, we for decades, you've been able to find that out just by going to the multiple listing service.
Yep.
You can't do that now. So what is the means by which? And you sent me an email last week, which I thought was really interesting. I think it was Mandy.
Yeah. Well, one of the teams is literally creating an AI that will, when someone schedules a showing, that agent's going to be emailed directly more information about the property, including that specific information.
Yeah.
Just to make it a little bit easier. But here's where it gets confusing, Mark, because everyone's going to be doing something different, at least to start.
Yes.
And I think it's going to be a bit of a mess.
It's definitely going to be a bit of a mess, but listen, embrace the mess. And I really mean that. Embrace the mess, or just, go put your head in a hole and just, wait for we're going to embrace the mess. There's going to be a system or two that is going to demonstrate efficiency far greater than that which everybody else is utilizing within a given jurisdiction, and we'll all gravitate toward that. I think that I'm trying to find somebody to program a system so that it would be a chatbot, so that either through text or through a phone call, one of the agents on their team, a buyer's agent would call our chatbot. Can you tell me the commission rate for the listing that Corey has at 123 East Main Street? And then the chatbot will just either through voice interface or through a text message. So that might work. It might not. Mandy's system might work. Something else might come along. I don't know.
It's interesting. I mean, again, it's going to be a lot of just let it play out and just trial and error, quite frankly, to see what happens. But for buyers, it's going to be a big transition as well, because you are now going into a new world where you don't necessarily know if the seller is going to be covering your agent. Yeah. So, when you're looking at property, you kind of have to look through a different lens and almost expect that I'm probably going to be on the hook for my buyer's agent's commission. Yeah. And then obviously if that's not the case, then that's, a pleasant surprise. Yeah. But I think it's safer to have that kind of mentality than the opposite of, this throw your hands in the air and just see what plays out.
And we haven't talked about this one for a while, but I think it is worth just broaching again. Are the banks, these are those moments where innovation and those who are willing to engage in new processes are going to do really, really well. So is there a local lending institution, a mortgage brokerage, somebody who's going to help buyers finance the commission they might need to pay to their buyer's agent? That'll be interesting, because I think a lot of agents will just gravitate toward working with a particular bank. So like you said, it's a moving, who knows?
But that's going to take a lot of logistical red tape, because I believe right now the rule is that they could only lend, 2% of the commission, and it's also at a much higher rate than what your typical 30-year would be.
So this wouldn't be, in my mind, it wouldn't be a mortgage. It would simply be a consumer loan.
Sure, right.
A line of credit of some sort.
Exactly, which again why it might be a 9% interest rate versus right now we're at 6.42 or whatever.
Because it's not going to be, more likely than not, it's not going to be secured against anything. But then again, new processes. Okay, so you're 28 years old, you're buying your first house, you can't afford to pay the commission to your buyer's agent, so maybe mom and dad will co-sign, or maybe mom and dad will allow you to collateralize the loan against as a lien against the residence.
Sure, home equity, yeah.
Who knows what's going to come about, but it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, like I said, it's going to be a lot of trial and error. So just buckle up, expect the change. As you said, Mark, you really have two choices. If you're a buyer, if you're a seller, if you're an agent, a broker, whatever, you can either hide from it and be terrified and go on vacation, or you can just embrace that changes here and figure it out.
I'm encouraging all my colleagues to just run from this.
Yes, don't even talk about it. Don't even think about it.
Just put your head in a hole and
kind of a caveat to all of this. So of course, all these changes came into place based on the settlement, the antitrust settlement. So the tables have turned a little bit for the National Association of Realtors. Instead of being sued by former sellers, they are now being sued by agents in Michigan and brokers in Michigan. Yep. And they have filed a class action lawsuit, an antitrust lawsuit. Wow. And basically the complaint here is that they are challenging the requirement to belong to these trade groups to access local multiple listing services, which is where we get all of our information about the properties that are on the market. Yeah. And saying that they should not have to pay these now in the hindsight of not having commissions offered.
I won't comment on the specifics of that lawsuit. I'll just say globally, I think the NAR is terrible.
Well, it hasn't done a ton.
It hasn't. They literally, do I have this right? I think the last I knew, don't they have in excess, or didn't they have prior to these lawsuits, in excess of $1 billion in assets.
Yes.
Like a ridiculous sum of money. Okay, why don't you take a quarter of that, $250 million, and hire a crack legal team to represent the best interests of the agents that you're supposed to be looking after. And perhaps we wouldn't have found ourselves in the position that we are in today, or perhaps they would have been able to roll it up. Because there are parts of it, as I've said over and over again, I do think there are parts of the DOJ settlement which are going to be helpful to consumers. But I think there's just some that's just like so ridiculous. Like this whole notion that you can't advertise the commissions being paid. That's ridiculous. If the NAR had actually spent some of the money to craft a better response.
Well, think of the timeline of how this is all rolled out, and quite frankly, how quickly all this has happened. When this first got on our radar, I mean, our conversations were, yeah, change is probably coming at some point, but it's going to be 5 years down the road. The fact that it's been implemented this quickly prior to the DOJ even finally signing off on everything is a little bit insane.
I would say that this thing has been rolling through the court systems and for the past 3 to 5 years.
Sure.
So I think that...
But catching steam, like really catching steam.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
And not really much pushback once things started going the wrong direction for the NAR.
Yeah.
So we'll see how this one plays out. Again, obviously, if there's any success here, that could open up the NAR to even more suits from other agents in other states.
Agents playing through the whistle.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right, Mark. Anything else you want to get to before we get to your favorite part of the podcast?
Here we go. I'm going to open up my iPad and...
I'll tell you this. You will like the last one.
Okay, here we go.
Because it's an update on one of our favorite properties that we've talked about probably ever since the podcast began.
Wow, okay.
But we'll start with a New Orleans mansion once owned by Nicolas Cage, which many believe is haunted. That is, they have accepted an offer. It's currently contingent. It was listed for $10.25 million. This property located in the French Quarter. It's been the subject of ghost stories since 1834, when a fire destroyed much of the mansion and 7 mutilated slaves were discovered locked in the home. Yeah, in the home. You know about this?
Because it was a season of Ryan Murphy's...
Oh, American Horror Story.
American Horror Story.
Oh, okay.
It was really...
I might have missed that one.
It was really good, because I look at it and this is I think they actually used
the Real House. Okay.
Yeah. Stacey Spoto, who I love. I mean, she's just one of my favorite agents. Stacey, we should have Stacey on.
Yeah.
We should definitely have Stacey. Stacey, we want you to come on, and we want you to... Stacey,
official invite.
Yes. And she is from New Orleans. You speak to her, and you know what? You may not be able to identify New Orleans, but you know she's from down south, and we love her so much. And I would, I'd love to have her tell us a little bit about this mansion. So yeah,
cool.
Very cool place. Yeah, very cool. I'm not sure if I would want to buy it.
And it's haunted? No, thank you. Out.
Yeah. That doesn't bother me. I just like the whole notion of slaves being locked in the attic.
Yeah, not a great idea.
So much.
All right, next one. We're going to go to New York.
Good one, bud. Thank you.
All right, we're 1 for 1.
Yeah, there we go.
So Billy Joel, his historic estate in Highland Falls, New York, is on the market for just under $2 million right now. And this one actually played a key role in inspiring him to write the song New York State of Mind.
Really?
Yeah, he actually wrote a lot of the songs from his 1976 album, Turnstiles, at the location, including Summer Highland Falls. Property details on this one. It's a 9-bedroom, 5,700 square foot estate built in 1950 that was previously owned by J.P. Morgan and served as a retreat for Billy Joel.
Okay, so the story's great.
You hate the place. There it is.
Did you look at it?
Yeah, it's not amazing.
Okay, so I'm not wrong.
It's not the greatest.
Don't put this on me.
It's got a great place. It's got a great view of the river. Okay.
It does. So I look at the first image. I'm like, not so much. And then the second image, the second image really should be the first image, because you really do see a beautiful view of the Hudson. Yeah.
And obviously inspirational.
And then the Charmans there.
That's all over.
Yeah. Oh, there we go. I knew it was going to be Ellen. I knew it was going to be Ellen.
The last one. So we talked about this, I think, late last year. The property on the Cliffside property in LA, the mega mansion that she just sold for $96 million. The profit on this, $26 million in 2 years. In 2 years, the purchase property 2 years ago, now selling it for $96 million.
Holy crap! I mean, this place is just. I mean, there aren't any interior photos. Who cares?
Well, we've seen this one before. It's the Pompeian one.
With all the great furniture?
Yeah. So it's a 5-bedroom, 8-bathroom, Tuscan-style mansion and 3.44 acres. It's a record-breaking sale, by the way. The original purchase was the most expensive real estate ever in Santa Barbara County, and now obviously this is just destroyed that as well.
Wow.
And she continues to know what she's doing. I was a little surprised. Her net worth only $380 million. I thought it would be a lot more than that.
Oh, that's interesting. Listen, nothing to sneeze at, but I mean that really is. That's a beautiful. I mean, and it's cliffside. You got the ocean on the one side, and then you've got these beautiful hills, mountains in the back. Just gorgeous. Really nice. That's a great one, bud.
All right, there we go.
Yeah, you got two awesome.
One crappy one, 2 great ones. That's fine. I'll take it. Anything else?
No, I think that's it. Anything
Our first video podcast. Thank you for, listening, and thank you for watching.
Yeah, we gotta figure out how to distribute this. Are we doing an audio?
We'll put it on our YouTube. Okay,
there we go. Okay,
for sure. You'll see it on our social media, so follow any of our social media.
Okay, great. And then there'll also, because I listen to podcasts constantly, but I never watch them. Never. But I listen to them constantly. So I just want to make sure that we get an audio only.
Oh, we'll have both. Don't worry. We got it covered. Okay. We got all the logistics. Fine.
You're great.
All right.
So are you, Alex. Thanks for all. Seriously, a shout out to Alex Brennan, who does our social media, who put all this together for us. He just he crushed it. So thanks for
Chris Coffey as well for helping design everything. So it'll be a work in progress, but good first episode for the video podcast.
Yeah.
Good 156th episode for the audio podcast.
Very good.
We'll talk to you guys again next time.